Hello, fellow YouTubers. This is DVD Collector 1986 here with a new video. This is going to be a rather large collection update. I might say a little bit about certain of these movies and TV shows. Might talk a little bit about certain ones, but I've got a lot here, so I'm going to try to go through it kind of quick. If you want to hear my in-depth thoughts or a review on a particular one, let me know in the comments. But I got a mixture of TV shows and just regular movies on Blu-ray and DVD. So let's just get into it. First up, a movie called Hollow Point, a really good modern Western action thriller kind of movie, starring Ian McShane, Patrick Wilson, and John Leguizamo. And this is actually available on Netflix right now. You can watch it if you have Netflix. It's on there. Um, like I said, really good modern Western. Um, Ian McShane is the ex-sheriff, and his sidearm of choice is a 50 caliber Desert Eagle. It's really freaking cool in the movie. Um, anyway, great modern Western. Check it out. Next, the Pet Sematary remake. I rather enjoyed this one quite a bit. I still prefer the older film, the original, but I enjoyed the changes that were made for this remake. And I think the thing I loved the most about this was John Lithgow playing Judd. I really enjoyed his version of Judd, and he was the perfect guy um, to play that role for the remake. But I really enjoyed this a lot. I tend to like remakes. I give them a chance most of the time. Next, Lost After Dark, a recent horror slasher from 2014, but it is clearly a throwback to 1980s horror. It feels like a 1980s slasher film, kind of a grunge, grindhouse style horror film. If you've seen Planet Terror, the way that movie is edited, and how at certain scenes in the movie it'll say missing reel, and the movie print just looks really dirty and grimy, and you know, that kind of grindhouse feel. That's how this movie feels. And the thing I like most about this movie is it has Robert Patrick in it. Definitely check that one out. Next, this is also available on Netflix. Frozen River with Melissa Leo. A really good. Um, it's a drama and it's a thriller. I think if I had to put this in the category, I'd say it's a drama film and it's a thriller. So I'm not going to say much about it, but it is available on Netflix and it's a pretty good movie. If I am not mistaken, this came out in 2008. So it's been around a while, but it's a pretty good movie. Next is Alice, Sweet Alice from 1976, I want to say. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is 1976. Um, but this is a pretty good. It's a really. It feels dated. It feels like a '70s film, but it's a classic slasher, and it's pretty good. I've actually had this on my list to get for quite a while, and it was just always real expensive, expensive, expensive. There's an Arrow release that just came out this month. It's pretty expensive, but I think it came out this month. It's either coming out this month or next month. But the Arrow release is real expensive, and I got this for $10, which isn't bad at all. Um, and this release looks really good. Um, and the only thing is that yes, it looks very dated, but this movie uh, is Brooke Shields' screen debut. She's not in the movie for very long though, but that's a really good movie if you like old school, like really old school slashers, and you're like a diehard slasher fan. Check that out. Next up is um, a very new movie called Arctic, about a man that gets lost in Antarctica, and he survives a plane crash. And all I'll say is that we're not really sure how long he's been there, but I mean, look at his facial hair; it's really grown out. So I would say he's probably been lost in Antarctica, surviving for like 6 to 8 months, and this helicopter shows up to rescue him, but the problem is they show up during a really bad snowstorm. So, as fate would have it, the helicopter crashes. One of the crew members on the helicopter dies, the other one lives, but she's very badly injured. And the rest of the movie is him trying to save this woman who came to rescue him, who's badly, badly injured. And all the while trying to wrestle with the idea of, do I stay within the relative safety of my encampment because he's living inside that crashed plane, um, and he has food and he has water and he's relatively safe where he is, but he's isolated. So it's about, do I stay where I'm at, or do I venture out into the wild, vastness of Antarctica and hope that I'm rescued. But if he leaves the safety of his camp, he's really going to be in danger. But she's dying because she's critically injured, so he has a choice to make. It's a really good survival movie. I would highly, highly recommend this one. Um, and the man in it, when he's wearing a beanie cap, reminds me of my grandfather that passed away this January. So when I watch this movie, I get to, in a sense, I get to spend a little bit of time with my grandfather for a couple hours when I watch this, because he looks a lot like him. Not when he's not wearing a hat, but when he is wearing like this beanie, um, save for the overgrown facial hair. Uh, my grandfather and this man look almost identical in the face. So, anyway, I highly recommend this movie. Next is another new release, Batman Hush. Not necessarily my favorite of all the animated Batman DC Universe films, but it's pretty good. Um, you've got Catwoman, you've got Nightwing, I think, is in it, and you've got Joker, um, and Superman's in it, and basically a good vast majority of the Batman's villain rogues gallery is in this as well. I have not read the comic that this is based off of. A lot of people say the comic is better. I never read the comic, and because of that, I just watched the movie as a movie, and it wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't bad either. It was pretty good. I still recommend this movie. I think it's pretty good. Next is the original, the first Hangover. I actually have all three of these films, but someone is borrowing parts 2 and 3, so I can't show those to you. But I do have all three of these movies, and I'm usually not one for comedies, but there are a few exceptions. There are a few comedies that I actually enjoy quite a bit, and the Hangover films are pretty funny. But my favorite by far is the first one. If I could only own one or recommend only one, I'd say watch the first one. It's the funniest of the three. But yeah, so I have the Hangover films as well. Now we're going to get into some TV shows. Believe it or not, I have never seen this show until now. Game of Thrones, this is just All I have right now is the first season. I like it a lot. It's a lot like if you were to mix Lord of the Rings with Braveheart, and let me see, yeah, yeah. If you were to mix Lord of the Rings and Braveheart, you would probably get something close to this. Very, very violent, very, very graphic, but very cinematic, very well done show. I understand there are 8 seasons of this show, but I've only seen this one. I have not watched this show until now, so I'm kind of late to the game on it. But I enjoyed the first season quite a bit, so I will probably at some point pick up the other seasons. But I highly recommend this show if you haven't watched it, especially if you like medieval stuff with like knights and people on horseback, and like I said, like knights and people jousting, and kings and queens and all that kind of stuff. If you like that medieval stuff, definitely check out this show. It's pretty good. Okay, next, I'm going to show you both of these at the same time. This is a Netflix show, but you can get it on DVD, and I believe it's available on Blu-ray. The Blu-rays are kind of expensive, so I just got the DVDs. But if you like historical dramas, stuff that's based on real life and history, definitely check these out. And that would be season 1 and season 2 of The Crown, with her name is Claire Foy. She played the main character in The Girl in the Spider's Web, which is the sequel to A Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. She plays Queen Elizabeth II, and the first 2 seasons of the show span from 1947 into the 1960s. And it's a very well done show. The costumes, the shooting locations, the dialogue, the just all around very high production value. Again, if you can't purchase these but you're interested, you can watch both seasons on Netflix. And it's my understanding that they are planning to have a total of 4 seasons. But right now, if you buy these, you can only get the first 2 seasons. So, The Crown, seasons 1 and 2, a really, really well done show, I have to say. Very impressed with that. And here we have a documentary. I love documentaries. Anyone who watches my channel knows this. Turtle Power, the definitive history of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a look under the shell. And basically anything and everything you would ever want to know about Ninja Turtles. If you're a hardcore, diehard fan of the Ninja Turtles like I am, this is the documentary for you. It says, experience a journey 30 years in the making. This talks about everything from their comic book origins to the cartoon series from the 80s to the live action films in the 90s. This came out in 2014. So the one thing that will not be covered is the Michael Bay incarnations, the Michael Bay films. But just about everything else is covered. There's interviews and just a really immersive, very entertaining documentary. And if you have a Roku, I'm sure most of you probably know what a Roku is. If you have the Roku with the streaming, this is available on the Roku channel or the Roku app. That's where I first watched it. That's what I use the Roku and Netflix for. I watch stuff that's on there that I've never seen, and if I like it enough, I'll pick it up on DVD or Blu-ray. This was one of those instances. I really enjoyed this documentary. I'm a huge Ninja Turtles fan. I grew up watching the cartoons, and I love the movies, even the Michael Bay ones. And this documentary did not disappoint. So definitely check this out. And let's see. Make sure these don't fall out. Okay. Um, I love TV shows, documentaries, all that good stuff. So I also picked this up, Longmire, the complete series. Has all 6 seasons. It's on DVD. I love this show. This entire show is available on Netflix. So if you'd rather watch it before you buy it, and you have a Netflix subscription, get on there and watch it. It's really good. This takes place in Wyoming. Walt Longmire is a sheriff in Absaroka County, Wyoming, and he solves murder mysteries, crimes. It's a detective series, but you're not going to see any of that CSI stuff. This is old school, old fashioned detective work. They have phones and cell phones and stuff like that, but he solves cases using his intellect and old school detective tactics. And Katie Sackhoff is in this, and so is Peter Weller, believe it or not. Peter Weller was RoboCop. He's in this show as well. He plays the retired sheriff, the sheriff that was sheriff before Walt Longmire. And Lou Diamond Phillips is also in this show. I love anything and everything about this show. You can get the box set, which has all the seasons, each one in its own case, or you can buy the seasons individually. If you do buy them individually, that's what the artwork on the individual cases looks like. So you can get them either way, individually or as a box set. I absolutely love this show, and I highly recommend it. If you like modern westerns, and to tell you the truth, I'm not really one for like the detective shows, but this is an exception because it's a detective show, but it's a modern cowboy western at the same time. And I like westerns, not old westerns. I like modern westerns, and this is right up my alley. I If I had to rate just this show, I'd give this a solid 9.5 out of 10. It's really, for me, it's really that good. And there's a lot of other appearances throughout the show by other famous actors, cameos and such, or they have small parts in the show itself, and very, very entertaining. I highly recommend it. So I got that. And lastly, I'm originally from Texas, and so King of the Hill season 1. I have always been aware of the show. I knew it existed. I caught snippets, pieces of certain episodes when they were airing back in the day on TV with commercials and all that other stuff. But I never actually sat down and watched an episode all the way through. And I'm a fan of Beavis and Butthead, so I knew I would like this show, and I love it. I just started watching this season today, actually, and I plan on picking up the other. Let's see, I think there's 13 seasons, so I plan on picking up the other 12 seasons over time, and eventually completing my King of the Hill collection. Mike Judge created this show, who he is also the creator of Beavis and Butthead, and you can clearly see when you watch this show the residue or the DNA of Beavis and Butthead that's embedded within this show, and I really enjoyed it. And like I said, I'm from Texas, so loved it, loved it, loved it. But that's all I have to show you in this video. I will probably have some more. I have a few other things coming in the mail, about 6 or 7 other items. I will show those to you later in a part 2 video. But anyway, I tried to get through this as quickly as I could. I had a lot of stuff. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching if you made it all the way to the end. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Thanks.